An hour after Gregory finished his session with Kathy, he had just finished typing up his notes when a loud siren began to wail. He threw open the door to his office and ran into the corridor, where the emergency alarm was louder still, echoing around the walls in a cacophony of sound. He took a quick glance in both directions and spotted a red, flashing light above the doorway of one of the patients' rooms. He sprinted towards it, dimly aware of running footsteps following his own, as others responded to whatever awaited them beyond the garish red light. The heels of his shoes skidded against the floor as he reached the open doorway, where he found one of the ward nurses engaged in a mental battle with a patient who had fashioned a rudimentary knife from a sharpened fragment of metal and was presently holding it against her own neck. Gregory reached for the alarm button, and a moment later the wailing stopped. In the residual silence, he took a deep breath and fell back on his training. "Do you mind if I come in?" he asked, holding out his hands, palms outstretched in the universal gesture for peace. He exchanged a glance with the nurse, who was holding up well. He'd never ascribed to old-school hierarchies within hospital walls. Doctors were no better equipped to deal with situations of this kind than an experienced mental health nurse. In fact, the reverse was often true. Life at Southmore High Security Psychiatric Hospital followed a strict routine for very good reason. Depending on their level of risk, patients were checked at least every 15 minutes to try to prevent suicide attempts being made, even by those who'd shown no inclination before or who had previously been judged low risk. Especially those. There were few certainties in the field of mental health care, but uncertainty was one of them. "I'd like you to put the weapon down, Hannah," he said calmly. "It's almost lunchtime, and it's Thursday. You know what that means." As he'd hoped, she looked up, her grip on the knife loosening a fraction. "Jam roly-poly day," he smiled. It was a mutual favorite of theirs, and in times of crisis, he needed to find common ground. Anything to keep her alive. "Sorry, Doc," she whispered, and plunged the knife into her throat.